All right, so you've just got a limited term appointment, a posting at a university to teach for a year because it's a limited term. I get this question a lot, which is about how I found accommodation or how did I live doing this sort of contract or short term appointment position. So, my very first experience was right out of my PhD. I graduated, I got a limited term appointment up north. It was about a 4 hours drive from my home. And because it was a contract for just the year, I didn't want to make a commitment to property there or, have a long term lease. So I was looking for something that was short term. What I ended up doing was getting a space that was connected, sort of like a wing on the end of a home that had been renovated. So it was brand new. It had my own bathroom, my own bedroom, of course, with a little kitchenette that was kind of attached to the bedroom. I had a TV, I had a desk space for marking and doing my research. And that was perfect. It was actually like bliss because it was backing on to Lake Nipissing. So I could walk out and be on the lake and sit on a Muskoka chair, and it was gorgeous. So I'm going off on a tangent there, but that was a really, really great experience in terms of making that rental. However, because of the post that I had, it was an assistant professor position in science education. I had moments where students were on placement, where they would be in the schools and they would be there for maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month at a time, and sometimes they were attached to holidays like Christmas. So there would be like maybe 6 week stretch where I didn't need to be all the way up north. I was home, close to I was in my real home with the mortgage that I really had to pay for as well. And so I was basically paying my mortgage and my rent in this other property. So that was something that I learned the second time around when I got another limited term appointment that was about 2 hours drive away. So again, close enough that I can go home on the weekends and long holidays and major vacation time, but far enough that I can't commute every day. So I did need a space to live in. And of course, where I am in Canada, we have winters, so it's kind of crazy to try to make those drives as well during some of the more inclement weather. So that time I was specifically looking for something that would be really even more short term. So what I decided to do was look for B&Bs, like bread and breakfast, or places that would rent, or hotels or something like that that would rent per night. And I ended up finding a beautiful B&B. It took a while. I was challenged by it for sure. In fact, one of the spots that I had found was a room that was connected to a green space where two alpacas were living in that space. So basically, I would open up my window and there would be like an alpaca there to greet me every morning. And so I wasn't really sure about that space because, I'd have to leave in the morning and then maybe the alpacas would like come walk with me and try to get into my car. Would they eat my homework? Well, not my homework, but my students' homework that I marked. I had a lot of concerns. So anyways, I ended up getting this other B&B, which had beautiful land space, lots of parking, so I was able to park my car there no problem. There was a few beautiful rooms in there and I chose one, and it was like a Victorian style room, again nicely renovated. And because it was a B&B, the owner of the B&B was so charming. She baked. Sometimes I'd have scones once in a while, but because it was actually I rented it on a regular basis and it was not in peak season. It wasn't during the summertime because university life is September to April. She had it closed actually, but she didn't mind renting it to me a couple nights a week to make a little bit of income. So it wasn't like I had breakfast every morning or anything like that, but she did rent it to me per night basis. So that meant that when my students were on placement or Christmas holidays, I didn't have to dish out rent for those months or those weeks or those nights because I wasn't there. I only paid for the actual nights that I stayed. So that worked out really, really wonderfully for me. And I've shared that knowledge with other people who've told me they've got limited term appointments or assistant professor positions in places where they, need to get back home. I, of course, have my partner and we have our mortgage and our home. We had just been newlywed when I first got my first limited contract. And then, of course, later on with my second one, we continue to do that long distance commute for me. He had a position in Toronto, close to our home, or in the city. So it just made sense for me to do the long drives because I wasn't sure how long I would end up in these places. The second limited term appointment ended up being 5 years, and I ended up staying in that B&B for pretty much all those years. The last year I did have children, so I wanted to commute. So I did commute. I left at 4 a.m. in the morning sometimes just to make it in time for my 8 a.m. lab, while leaving my little twins behind. But those were small sacrifices to make, but it worked out in the long run to be able to have like a space where I could rent out per night basis if I had to. So if you got a limited term appointment, first of all, congratulations. It's a great experience. You learn a lot about the climate of different universities and how they operate and work, as well as scholarship and networking with so many different people, as well as the environment. So beautiful. My first place was up north. First time I ever saw a moose. I felt so Canadian that day. And it was backed on a natural reserve. The second place that I was posted at was a campus that had a river that ran through the center of it. It was really gorgeous as well. And I did a lot of outdoor education and environmental education with science because of those spaces. So congratulations if you did. I hope that you enjoy your new university, and hopefully this information is some good advice if you are looking for some short-term rental, and just sharing what I've done in my past and passing on that knowledge, because I certainly wish I wish I had known that the first time around, because I did throw away a lot of rent when I wasn't even there. And the second time around, of course, I learned from my mistakes. So hopefully you'll learn from this as well. All right, well, congratulations, and enjoy your new university, whether you're teaching, writing, researching, whatever it might be. Take care.